elections in Brazil may have consequences for the implementation of the trade agreement between the EU and the Mercosur. In 2019, the two blocs signed a trade agreement considered to be the world's largest at the time. The Mercosur is the fifth largest economy in the world outside the EU, with an annual output of 2.2 trillion euros. Its population is of 260 million people, and the EU exports 45 billion euros in goods annually to Mercosur. For it to come into force, all member states need to ratify the agreement. But this has not happened yet. Under pressure from Paris, Brussels now wants guarantees that the Amazon forest will not be destroyed in favor of the expansion of the South American grain and cattle producers.
The Macron government has a legitimate position against the agreement in theory, because of environmental issues. So additional commitments are being negotiated, but once those environmental and additional commitments are eventually agreed upon, there is no more excuse not to start the ratification process, because right now the agricultural arguments have not been put on the table, not even in France, to prevent the initiation of the ratification process.
Deforestation figures in Brazil have increased since the election of Jair Bolsonaro, as have budget cuts to environment-related federal agencies.
There's a very significant reduction in the rate of deforestation between about 2004 and 2012. It comes down about 80%, which shows that when there's political will, there is an infrastructure in place for Brazil to monitor and to deter and to curb the rate of deforestation.
The deal with Mercosur sets environmental targets for all of its signatories. Many countries in the EU, for example, are also far from their own CO2 targets.